Hey guys, I'm Nathan McDowell, or NATTYMAC, and NATTYMACMEDIA is my company. So I'm on the stage today as a solo creator, a lot like Marcellus, and I'm just going to give you a little bit of an intro video about me, what I kind of do. So I've been, oh, if it works, yeah. So I've been shooting for a while, the last 22 years. I picked up a camera when I was 15. I haven't really put one down. But in that time, I photographed like fashion campaigns, sports stars, celebrities, worked with some major global brands. And as you can probably see, my work's quite loud, quite out there, which is when kind of Gen AI came about. I was just like, I need to understand that. I need to kind of get what it's doing. So I started playing around with it. Started playing around mostly with Midjourney and creating kind of colourful, bright, loud stuff out of it. So now I was fortunate enough to talk at Flow in London last year, and one of the things I did was create a campaign that was Thrasher meets Wedgwood, which was kind of a skatewear campaign, which is really action based, but kind of complemented it with something very breakable and very like delicate sort of pottery. So what's next? Where do I kind of go from here? So when Alexandra asked me to talk here, I was like, how can we build on this? So I wanted to push things forward a little, because in our nature as creatives to continue evolving, continue striving, reaching for that next step, that next new idea. So yeah, I started having to play around. I'd explored, like I said, my combined love of skateboarding and pottery, the last thing. So what's next? I did, as Marcellus pointed out, I asked ChatGPT for some suggestions, and I got nonsense out of it. So it wasn't a productive conversation with that machine at that time. So I started just really digging in and thinking, what can I do? What can we come up with? What do I love? So Lego. So coincidentally enough, I did a session yesterday, and one team, I think they're probably in the audience, did a Gucci dress with like Lego, and it looked stunning. So I thought that was quite fun. But I wanted to do maybe Legos and eyewear and put kind of like a child's toy within that kind of fashion discourse. As you can see, it's very bold, it's very bright, it's very Lego. So as you can see, the subject matters. Its primary colours, its primary colour palette is reds, blues, greens, and it gave quite imagery that I liked, but I wasn't totally satisfied with. Still wanted to carry on kind of pushing that forward, sort of exploring it and see where we could kind of keep pushing the machine and keep taking it. Little side note, you got to be careful when you're prompting, because the only difference in this and the previous imagery was added the word streetwear into the prompt, and it gave us this monstrosity. So so yeah, you have to be kind of discerning. In my last session at Flow, I gave the analogy of being the chef in the AI kitchen. So what you kind of put into it, you get out. You can't just turn up to the kitchen and expect an amazing souffle. You've got to have a bit of knowledge on how to actually prepare it. But it's just trial and error with it. So yeah, again, be the chef in that kitchen. But we can always learn from these mistakes as well, and we can kind of go, right, well, something went wrong with that prompt. What was it? And we can start to understand it a little. So yeah, so let's continue. I wasn't quite feeling the Lego Ray-Bans campaign. What next? I love cooking, and my partner is partial to a designer handbag. So maybe something for both of us. So yeah, I give you Birkin bags meets Le Creuset. I quite like this one, to be fair. I know I wanted it to be quite kitsch. I wanted it to be quite retro feeling. So when prompting, you can kind of ask that from the machine. You can kind of throw in words like kitsch, retro, kind of, and you can add kind of like filmic aesthetics. Like I use things like 70s, classical, and then Polaroid, I think, and medium format film, things like this. And it starts to build out this sort of world environment that's quite targeted. Which is quite nice, because then you can sort of start to discern a final output that feels quite cohesive with it. But again, I think there's something in it, but what else can we do? I wanted to do something that was more me. So back to the drawing board with this one. So I play chess regularly. have done for the last 3 years, and I'm relatively terrible at the game, but I enjoy it. And I've also long been a fan of the eminent streetwear designer Yohji Yamamoto and his just his sleek silhouettes, the way he did designs for Y3. So maybe something in that. So how about a streetwear campaign inspired by chess? So yeah, I came up with this. And for me, this is more my aesthetic, as you can probably see from the intro photos. This is more on my level of that kind of streetwear photography and creating those kind of elegant, sleek shapes. So let's have a look at what we can get out of that. So when thinking about this, we want to do a bit of ideation. What does this campaign look like? What do the models look like? What's the set build like? What's the lighting like? What style are we going for? What kind of content are we overall looking to create out of this? And these are great questions, but you can ask the machine as well. You can be inquisitive towards it, and you can kind of go, what would this campaign look like? Streetwear meets chess. And then reference kind of people like the designers that you want to kind of emulate a little bit. So yeah, so here's just a little overview of what a prompt structure could look like within the machine. Broke it down into 3 sections. So you've got content in green, you've got your more kind of stylistic choices in blue, and then in orange just some technical ones. So a fashion lookbook created for the chess.com to launch their new line of streetwear inspired by Yohji Yamamoto and Y3, heavily referencing chess and chess pieces. Now it's worth noting at this point what Marcellus was alluding to before. Now in the newest version of Midjourney, you're working with longer sentence structures and you're being a lot more descriptive with when you're asking for it. And then we've got shot on Polaroid camera, ultra high definition, and then stylized at 50. So that's just a little chaos variable that you can put in, and an aspect ratio of 2:3 to give us that nice portrait, and it's version 6 of the machine. So it comes out with something sort of like that. But then if we want to kind of build on that, we can add extra things to it. We can start adding what's called an S-ref or style reference. So that one and that one are my own images, and that one are out of the machine. And I'm asking the machine to combine something I've already created with it and combine it with one of my old images to give it that texture. So I'm kind of plagiarizing myself, which is, I guess, legal. But I found using it like quite game changing, because you can kind of go, I really want it to have this feel to it, and you can really kind of start to dig into it. And like I say, you can also give weight to it. So if I wanted it to be more like that image, I can, within Midjourney, ask it to take more influence from that, and I can combine multiple style references within the same thing. So at the same time, this is version 6 of the machine, which is the most current one. It came out with this, which was nearly didn't make it in because there was deadlines. Oh, sorry, no, I'm skipping ahead. So this is it in action. So again, the one on the right is my own image, and the left is from Midjourney. And I wanted to create like a crouching or sat down shot. And I wanted to have that kind of film aesthetic, because the one on the right was shot on film camera. And I just wanted it to kind of feel a bit more like my style, something that I'd kind of do. And just kind of match the overall tone of it. So this is using the style ref functionality. So that image and that image created this lovely character here. And for the sake of the talk, we're calling her Susie. So she's named after my first car. But why that's relevant is because of this, the character reference. Now this, for me, is the biggest game changer. So we can take Susie and we can go, right, I want her to be in a field, or I want her to be shot by Nick Knight, or I want her to be playing chess in a room, and you can create that scenario and then reference that character that you've already created, and it does quite a good job of keeping her consistent throughout. So in terms of longer term solutions for what you can do with Midjourney, this is, I think, potentially very exciting. So I think all these things combined, all these things considered, when we're thinking about the mood of the shoot, the location, the sets, the casting, the direction, the movement, everything then starts to create something that can build into quite a textured overall campaign and keep that cohesion throughout everything. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with the chess stuff. So moving that on. how are we taking this further? What tools have we got at our disposal now? I started playing around with some video elements, and I will give a short disclaimer. And like Marcella said, it's quite difficult to get something out of that technology at the moment. It's in no way finessed. So Runway creates 4-second clips from your imagery. And with that, I'd say normally about a second is usable. And then it just goes crazy and you start distorting faces and stuff. But you can make something short and snappy. I don't think it's quite where it needs to be. And like the results vary quite dramatically between it. Some of it's terrible, some of it works. But yeah, so here's just some stuff that we've created, just with like quite subtle movements. I think if you add anything too much into it, it starts to really lose itself. Faces it struggles with, arms and legs are just a no-go. So I've kept it quite reserved, quite stripped back. But again, you need to be the chef in this situation. You need to know what you're asking for and know how to ask it, because otherwise it's just, honestly, you're lost. So moving on. So I think AI has become a catalyst for creative collaboration. And what I mean by that is I'm trying to find ways that I can utilize it with the clients that I have and work on different projects. So in the past few weeks, I've worked with past few months, creative directors, art directors, a clothing design team, motion and graphics designer, and a film director to help him storyboard a pitch. So it's all been quite exciting little use cases for how we can use these tools to speed up our process and to augment our own creativity. So this is a project I worked on with an art director for a film called The Phenomenon of Presence. And they came to me, the art director, and they're like, we want this futuristic whiskey bottle design, and it needs to be for a massive print out, and it's selling this whiskey that doesn't exist. They wanted it to have a futuristic feel, like a 70s or 80s kind of thing. So I started looking at films like Blade Runner and things like that to get that aesthetic, which the machine understands very well. And yeah, we came out with this. So the one on the right was the final print out for it. That was 1.5 meters by 1.5 meters, and it was printed out and put in situ on set for filming. So you can see it there. It worked out really well. So we worked with the graphic designer on this, and he kind of added the branding for this imagined whiskey brand onto it, and just put it out there. And I think it looks great in the wild. They also on the set build set up screens and iPads that had the branding kind of flashing up on it, just to really add to that kind of space and kind of really tie into the color themes that they were doing and the overall theme of the film. So still working on the same project, the art director approached me again and said, we want to create this headset, this like crazy headset for this is one of her mood boards that she sent across for the film, because it's kind of sci-fi, this medical kind of feeling thing. And these are the kind of mood board references that she sent over as well. So combining the two, we came out with something a bit more futuristic feeling. And we came out with these out of the machine. And these are just concepts, just proof of concept that we can pitch to the art director, pitch to the film director, and kind of like this or like that. Now this is still in production, so I can't show you this yet, but it's being created as we speak. So next up, working with a music video director for one of his pitches, working with talent. So I sat down with a coffee with the director Casey Locke. And he's been a fan of what I've been doing with AI and following it. And we kind of sat down and we went through how we could create something, these very specific shots that he could put into the treatment and pitch to his client. And he wanted a very specific ant-size shot, looking up with the talent leaning over, surrounded by models, taken from the point of view of an iPad or phone being picked up. The shot on the right, that was an accidental rollout of the machine that just mid-journey decided he wanted that, so it came out, and he loved that, so that ended up making it into the treatment as well. Now he did go on to win the pitch, which is great for him, but unfortunately it's redacted at the moment because it's not gone live, so I can't actually show it you. but it looks good. And it'll be an advert. I think it's for a phone brand. So yeah, you might see it in the wild at some point. And lastly, for this, Sanucci. So we did a bit of work with them where we created just a simple T-shirt for a pop-up shop they were doing. The hand was created in AI, and we comped the jewelry in post. The hand being created in AI is a big game changer because anyone who's been following Midjourney's journey, hands were not a thing at the start. You had 12 fingers, 15 fingers, 20. Count them, it's fine. Cool. So a lady called, who goes by the name of Salient Art, reached out to me after seeing my talk last time, and she's an AI artist her own right, and she's been using something slightly different to what I do, which is a little more complicated. But this was to add motion to images that I'd created within Midjourney. This is her work, which I think is absolutely stunning, and she was part of the first AI runway. So yeah, but she uses a platform called Comfy User Interface, which feeds off Stable Diffusion. Anyone who's a designer or an audio tech or a video producer might be familiar with a kind of node-based system, but this is hella complicated at the moment. But you can kind of really narrow things down. This is coming at it from a much more techie kind of point of view and get some really specific results in the end. So that's a very kind of exciting thing. Now this is what she created for me on my request, is some kind of moving stuff. So I think some of them work better than others, but again, with video, I don't think we're there yet. I think you end up with distortions and stuff that are quite jarring often. But I think to see where it's kind of going, what it's leading into is quite exciting. So in light of that, Sora. Now, I think most people will be aware of this platform at the moment. Anyone who's not seen it, there was the whole promo video where they put it out and they said, you can just put this prompt in and it'll create a whole 40-minute video for you. Whether that's true or not, we don't know, because there's only a handful of people globally that can use it. It's very much safeguarded until it's deemed safe for public consumption. But I think very exciting, very promising things on the sideline with this, and it'd be interesting to see where that goes and how that fits into the kind of the creative output for a lot of us. But I think, like anything, my take home from all of this tech, all of this stuff as a creator, is how can I use it to speed up my workflow? How can I use it to help me? Not replace me, help me. So lastly, kind of industry giants in AI. At the moment, it's the most, I think it's something like 60% of global demand for high-end AI servers are taken up by 4 companies, and that's your Microsoft, Google, Amazon, and Meta. So it's huge. The impacts are absolutely huge, and they are taking over, and they probably will more and more. But I think if we as creators embrace that technology and utilize it, then we can really we can create something. And the quote earlier on about digital Darwinism rings kind of true in that. So the journey ahead, where to next? So the landscape keeps changing. Evolution being a running theme from the start of this presentation seems very fitting. When we consider the power we have now compared to when I last spoke in November, it's leaps and bounds. And there's points in this that I had to add quite late on because that industry keeps changing, that tech keeps changing. I think it's going to continue to do so. But I think as more and more people get involved in it and understand it, then, yeah. I mean, the possibilities are amazing with it. They really are. So it's just about working smart with it and making the machine work for you. And finding great ways to work with it. Cool. And that's about it from me, guys. So thank you very much.
Wow, really great stuff, man.
Thank you.
I mean, it's just so interesting to see the 2 different styles utilizing these tools, and just amazing stuff. So let's get to some questions, because I'm sure there will be plenty. Have you had any legal issues with using AI-generated imagery? For example, how did it work with AI-generated artwork for the film or T-shirt design?
I've had no legal issues as of yet, and I'm hoping not to have any. But, I mean, with it, so as I understand it, you can create something out of Gen AI, and then within Midjourney, you hold the copyright to that. but I'm not a copyright lawyer, so don't take my legal advice. But and then when you kind of tweak it and modify it, then it actually becomes your own piece of artwork. And all my stuff is modified, whether it's just like simple kind of adjustments, lighting, grade, adding grain, kind of balancing the photos out, a lot like what Marcellus was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
There is that kind of treatment on the end of it, and I believe then it becomes legally your own artwork.
Yeah.
As far as I'm aware.
Well, and you talked about the evolution, and I watched your Flow London presentation.
Yes.
And I watched the legal presentation.
Yeah.
And even since that presentation, the legality of it, and rulings in China versus and the EU's regulations. I mean, it's just that part of it's evolving.
I think
so fast too.
It's kind of like the Wild West at the moment, isn't it? Because it is changing that quickly, and so at the moment I think I'm legally safe, but hopefully that'll continue.
Yeah.
Coincidentally, though, I worked on another project for Casey Locke, the film director, where he needed the likenesses of 14 different female artists. It was for this rapper, and they were doing a bedroom scene where he's a teenage boy, and he had these posters up of Beyonce and Megan Thee Stallion and all that kind of stuff. Now, from a licensing point of view, there was no way he would have been able to afford one of them for the budget. But he spoke to the record label, and the workaround was we can create something that's close to, but not essentially that, and just allude to it.
Oh, wow.
And they got around it that way, and they did that all legally and above board with the record label. So, yeah.
Really cool. Really cool. Okay, next one. How do you reconcile the loss of capturing candid moments from traditional photography when utilizing AI? To create action shots or for a skate brand, for example? Does the use of AI end up diluting what we would see in a normal photo shoot?
Okay, so just to clarify the purpose with that, the stuff that I did, the skatewear stuff, that was proof of concept. So it was never meant to be like a final campaign thing. That's more like something you can take them images to the art director or to whoever you're selling that pitch to and kind of go, this is what I want to create.
Yeah.
Let's get a team. Let's get a hands-on team to kind of create this. Let's get set builders. Let's light it properly. I think you can get things that I candid feeling out of it.
Yeah.
But getting it to feel genuine, I think, is quite difficult.
Yeah.
From my point of view. But that was never my intention. My intention is always to augment my workflow and help sell an idea, sell a campaign to a larger team rather than replace it out directly, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Could you eventually, just moved on me. Could you eventually create an AI model board, AI model castings?
This is a fantastic question. So Carrie, Salient AI, who I referenced, so she's working on the legal side of licensing with models their likenesses through AI.
Okay.
So that's something that is kind of happening here, and in the background there is people working on it, and she wants to do it all above board so everyone gets paid the appropriate amount and no one gets shortchanged. So there is things working there in terms of kind of casting and creating them libraries of models.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. Do you prefer to use AI for creative concepting and shooting campaigns in real life? Is Susie free for bookings? There's your modeling first gig.
Susie's definitely free for bookings. I am her de facto agent. So yeah, I can confirm. And yeah, no, like I say, like conceptualizing, selling that brief, mood boarding, like just helping tell that story and getting that picture over the line. But I'll always prefer shooting. I'd always be happiest with the camera in my hand.
Yeah,
and making something actual, tactile, and yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah, photographer first.
I mean,
who messes around with AI?
Yeah. Is Midjourney free to use, and how can you join?
So it's no longer. I don't think there's any free Midjourney at the moment. No, I don't think it is. I think Stable Diffusion might be free, and it kind of works on you get so many generations a day. And joining is a bit of a pain in the arse, but you can do it. You need to set up a Discord.
Yep.
First and foremost, and then go to midjourney.com and then click to join the beta. It takes you through to that, and then you fill in them steps, and then you work on it through Discord for your first 10,000 generations, and then after that you get what's called Midjourney Alpha, and then that's much nicer kind of user interface, and it makes life a lot easier. But yeah, it's a bit long-winded, but it's worth doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so is it? I mean, would you say it's expensive? I mean, yeah, it seems like you're in there a lot. Like, I mean, you have big bills. Yeah.
It's not bank breaking though.
Yeah.
So it's about $30 a month.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So
All right.
I can put it against tax and stuff. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Legal thoughts on training an AI on a single artist work to create a world where new art content feels similar to that world with new characters and themes, perhaps a whole new human-generated, expressed, rendered in the world.
So legal thoughts is difficult because I'm not trained in any way on that.
Yeah.
I think there's some ethical kind of things on just completely outright plagiarizing someone's work.
Or your
I think, my own. I mean, I can self-plagiarize. That's fine. Is it really plagiarism then? But,
I plagiarized my test in college. It didn't help out.
That's it, yeah. Cheating. But, yeah, it's hard to understand the legal implications of it. 'Cause like I say, I'm not coming from that world. But I think there is a real ethical question on, like, if someone's got such a distinct style and you go, I want to shoot it like this person, like, and I want it to be exactly like their work, then I think it's a bit jarring.
Yeah.
But artists are always inspired by other artists, and there is always that kind of thing. So it's a bit of a grey area, I think.
Well, and that's what I was going to say, because I've had this conversation with a number of people, not specifically that question, but I mean, I'm sure we've all had the conversation, and it's, it gets back to, well, mood boards and inspiration has always been around, and so to a certain extent, and I guess this question focuses more on a single artist. So maybe, but then again, there's been writers and artists in the past that were hugely focused on a single artist and, wanted to do their own version of it. So it's, that's a hard question to answer.
I think taking inspiration from something's always kind of okay, but directly kind of going, I want it to be exactly this is a bit.
I was always told it was the best form of compliment.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
that's true.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Nathan. Everyone, please give Nathan a big round of applause.
Thank you.
Thanks, buddy.
Nice.
Good job.